And we're now joined by former Fighting Saint for life, Dylan Gambrell. And Dylan, thanks for taking the time to do this today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And I think we'd be remiss if we didn't start off by exactly what are you doing right now? I know you're kind of in limbo. The USHL season has been canceled. NCAAs have been canceled, but the AHL and the NHL right now are just suspended. So what has day-to-day life been for you?
It's kind of just waiting to hear. We don't know anything more than everybody else knows. So trying to stay in shape, stay as busy as you can, but staying home and trying to be safe.
Outside of hockey, what have you been doing to keep yourself busy?
I've been trying to stay in shape. Like I said, I've been working out quite a bit. You kind of just have to go back to basics, not a lot of weight. So, doing body weight stuff and started taking a couple classes again. I figured, start working back towards a degree with the downtime we have. So, that's keeping me plenty busy.
What classes have you been taking? What subjects?
A couple marketing classes, working towards a degree there. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So we'll talk hockey now because I know people want to kind of occupy themselves with what had been going on before all this kind of put a pause on everything. But you got your playoff experience last season with the Sharks. You played 2 games, one in a series against Colorado, one against St. Louis. Getting your first NHL playoff experience, what was that like for you?
That was exciting. The guys were super helpful. I think, coming into it, you're pretty nervous because you always hear, NHL Stanley Cup playoffs. It's a whole other animal. So, the guys were super helpful. They made me feel more comfortable. And, it was an exciting experience for sure.
You hit the ice, you play a couple shifts, and then in that game against St. Louis, you get a goal. What was that feeling like? Not just to be able to play a game, but have an impact on the score sheet as well.
Yeah, that was great. Anytime you can help your team and, I think it was 2-0 at that time to put the game at 2-1. So, it just felt great to not only score the first goal, but to, kind of get us back in the game, give us a chance. I think, a little life for the team. And, that's something I'll remember for a long time.
You're in a rare crop of players who get their first playoff goal before they actually get their first career NHL goal. Was it weird to have your first career goal announced when you had already scored on arguably a bigger stage?
Yeah, it was a little funny. I didn't know how that kind of worked. They didn't, like you said, they don't count it for technically your first NHL goal, but it was cool either way. But yeah, lucky to score in the playoffs there, and then yeah, lucky to get another one, I guess.
Overall, how's your time been the 2 years that you spent with the Sharks organization?
It's been great. They do a really good job at developing their young players. I think they don't force it. I think it's important, that you keep developing, and I think it's helpful that they have the AHL team in the same city, let alone the same rink. So you're constantly working, and you got to keep getting better no matter what. So whether it's you're in the AHL, the NHL, it's great that they have that. Both teams right there in the same rink.
They have a bunch of veterans on that team, Joe Thornton, Logan Couture, Joe Pavelski, to name a few. Have
Mhm.
you had any conversations with them? Have they been able to give you any insight as to what it takes to maintain a lengthy career at the NHL level?
Yeah, they've all been super helpful. You can ask them, anything you want, and they're gonna be right there to give you any sort of advice and help. So, I think when Paz was there, he was really helpful for me. He was a guy that I looked up to, just his style of play and kind of how he carries himself. With him gone, there's plenty of guys now. Cooch, I talk to him a lot, ask him questions. Like you said, Jumbo, Bernsey, all those guys. They've been in the league a long time and they've had a lot of success. So it's nice being able to ask those guys questions and get advice from them and, try to implement those things.
For yourself personally, this season you played in 50 NHL games before the season was suspended. What have you seen yourself improving on the most that has allowed you to stay at the NHL for a good amount of games this season?
Yeah. For me, it's just the little things. I think I've said this before. You come from college or you come from juniors or whatever, and you might be a totally different player at the NHL level. So For me, it was focusing on, little things, whether it was winning battles, just being strong in your stick, being in the right place at the right time. And, I think those things have given me success and helped me stay in the NHL.
I know you mentioned that obviously the San Jose Barracudas, the AHL affiliate of the Sharks, they're in the same city. So if you're with the AHL team or the NHL team, you're still based out of San Jose. But has it still been nice to be consistently at the NHL level versus kind of bouncing back and forth as a lot of young players might do?
Yeah, definitely. I think, at a point obviously you want to be in the NHL. At a point after, going up and down a few times, I think you start to figure it out and figure out what it takes. And, you want to do what it takes to stay in the NHL. So, I keep working hard, and I don't take it for granted at all. So, just keep working and, staying focused, trying to stay up with a big club.
Before the NHL, you had 3 seasons in Dubuque and then 3 seasons at Denver. Would you say that your longevity, maybe staying an extra year than most do at each of those places, was one of the main reasons for your ability to develop and be an NHLer at age 23?
I think so. Yeah. I think it helped me develop not only as a person, but as a player. You learn how to be a leader in those times. I think, like you said, most guys, they'll go to junior for USHL for, 1 or 2 years. But for me, I was able to stay and, learn what it's like to be a leader at that level. And then, I think there's no rush when going to the next level as well. So by the time I was ready for college, I think I was, more developed physically, mentally, and then by the time I went to college, I think, I was more prepared.
Looking at the college experience for you, 3 years at Denver, and right there in the middle, the 2017 national championship for you, what was that experience like, that entire season?
Yeah, it was unbelievable. Again, that was something I'm not going to forget for a long time. I think, my freshman year, we had a great team as well. We went to the Frozen Four, um, had a great season, and then ended up losing to North Dakota in the semis there. So I think, ultimately that was tough, but I think it helped for the next year. We had that bitter taste in our mouth. We had that, we want to get back. The only thing that's really going to get this off our mind is winning it, So I think we had the right group to do it. And luckily enough, we came out with a win there.
You had that Fighting Saints Dubuque tie with the head coach at the time of Denver, Jim Montgomery. Did you guys talk a lot about your separate times in Dubuque?
A little bit, yeah. I remember it's actually funny. After we won in Dubuque there, I was already committed, and then I found out he was going to be the coach at Denver, and he pulled me into the office and he said, we won here, and when you come to Denver, we're going to win there, so be ready. So that's something I always remember.
Man of his word, followed up on the promise.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of following up on that promise, and not just Monty helping, but a lot of good players on that team. I mean, I'm going down the list. Jared Luco Savages, who scored a hat trick in the championship game that year. Henrik Borgstrom, Troy Terry, Will Butcher, all these players, great collegiate players, have gone on to do great things afterwards. How special of a group was that to be able to play, and not just play with them, but go to the rink every day and know that those were your teammates, some of the best in the nation?
Yeah, I mean, it was awesome. They're your teammates, they're your best friends. Everybody's working for the same goal. And you kind of know when you have something special. You can feel it in the locker room, and you can look at each other, and you look at the guy across from you, and you can trust and rely on that guy, and that's a great feeling. And I think that's one of the bigger things when you have a championship team. You can kind of feel it, and that's what we had that year.
Speaking of special groups, and you referenced it a little bit earlier, but your year in Dubuque, 2012, 2013, how early on in that season did you know you had something special?
Um, Pretty early. We were lucky that year. We had a great team. I think our leaders and our older guys on that team, they really did a great job with us younger guys. I think, Keegan Ford, Seamus Malone, we had a few other young guys, and I think they really took us under their wing and they showed us the way. And, like I said, that was another special group, and we ended up winning the Anderson, the Cowbell, and the Clark Cup that year. So that was a really good team, and we still stay in touch to this day. We're always talking about reunions and all that. So it's nice staying in touch with those guys, and you have that bond forever.
I have to ask, every fighting saint or former fighting saint I've talked to has said something about a poker night. Were you guys doing poker night back when you
Yeah,
started?
I think it was we would do Wednesday nights. Yeah, yeah, that
Beautiful.
was a lot of fun. Yeah,
Wednesday or another tradition I heard mentioned was Ichiban for lunch or dinners. Did you guys
yeah,
do that as
yeah.
well?
That was a big one. Thursdays. Yeah, we'd always do that and go to Cold Stone.
There you go. Good to know the traditions have still lasted. When you look
Yeah.
at that 2012-13 team, arguably the best team ever in the Tier 1 era for the USHL, not to say you guys were ever cocky or took anything for granted, but were there certain nights where you just felt you could do absolutely no wrong on the ice with that team?
Um, maybe I think it felt like that just because we worked so hard. Every practice, I think we look back and we always say practices are harder than games. So every time we got into a game, we knew exactly what we were doing. We knew what we were going to get from each other, and I think we all held each other to such high standards that um, you know we knew, like I said, what we were going to get. And if anybody had an off night, we were there to pick each other up. We're holding guys accountable, and it takes little things like that to have success like we did on the ice, I think.
Fighting Saints this year had a really good team and led by a lot of second year players that made a big jump from year one to year two. How big of a jump did you see every single year during your time at juniors in terms of your development?
Yeah, it's a big jump. You're a year older. You have a year more of experience. You have another summer under your belt of training, and younger guys coming into the league. I think it gives you that confidence that you've been there before. The league, the players. So I think it helps a lot. And like I said, there's no rush moving on to the next level. I think it just helps you out even more.
Is there one year for you or one period of time between when you started at Dubuque up until now where you think you've seen the biggest jump in your development, or has it kind of been a steady growth?
I think it's been pretty steady. I've been lucky to have great trainers every year and every summer. I think coming into Denver my freshman year, the summer before that, I think was probably the biggest jump that I've seen. Just as far as physically and being prepared, because you come to college, guys are you're playing against men now. You're not playing and juniors, so that was a big summer for me, and I think it helped out a lot.
You mentioned the maturity, not just physically but also mentally. Do you think it's more on one side or the other? Do you develop more physically in junior hockey, or do you develop more mentally, or is it a very 50-50 balance there?
Yeah, I think it goes hand in hand. Again, and that just comes with being in the league, for multiple years and knowing what you need to do to take care of yourself and just be prepared.
Outside of the obvious, that 2012-2013 Clark Cup run and championship, what were a few other highlights for you during your Dubuque years?
Um, I think when I look back, we had great teams every year, and I think the thing that always sticks out is just the teammates. I think I was lucky that every year we had great teams, great guys in the room, and that kind of starts with just the culture that the guys before me started. So we were lucky enough that they carried it on. And again, just the guys, like I said, I still communicate with everybody that I played with there. So I think looking back, that's just one of the main things. And being in that city was a lot of fun. So hopefully get back soon.
Winding down here as we're running out of time, and want to thank you again, Dylan, for taking the time to join us today. A couple more questions, though, just some quick hits. And the first one being, what was your favorite place to play in the USHL outside of the Mesquite Community Ice Center?
I liked I like Sioux Falls. I don't know why I like Sioux Falls. My first year, they had they had the old rink, they had the small one there, and that was a lot of fun. But then they renovated. They got that big. I don't know how many fans it holds.
I
10,
think over almost 10,000, if not even more. It's crazy.
10,000. So
Yeah.
that was really cool. And they sold it out. So I think that was probably my favorite place.
Final question for you today. I was digging around on the stats, and I'm looking at 2014-15 in Dubuque, and you had 74 penalty minutes that year. You don't have another season where you have higher than 30 penalty minutes. Were you trying your hand at enforcer that season, or what was the deal with the 74 penalty minutes?
I don't know what I was doing there. I'm not a tough guy, so I don't know. But
I saw two. I saw two fights that season. Have you had fights outside of that year that you can remember, or were those maybe your only two fights?
um, I think it was just that year. I might have had one my third year, but yeah, like I said, I'm not necessarily a tough guy, so I don't know what I was doing.
74 penalty. It just stood out on that side of the chart. I
Yeah,
had to ask if there was anything in
yeah, no,
particular.
yeah.
All right. Well, really
Hmm.
appreciate you taking the time here today, Dylan. I'm sure a lot of fans are interested to see what you've been doing, and hopefully we're watching you back out on the ice with the San Jose Sharks at some point soon. But again, really appreciate you taking the time here today.
Yeah, no problem. Again, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Take care.
Right on, you too.